This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Oh yeah, it's the Sunday edition. It is a busy 2 hours ahead. Lots to look at and discuss from a full Saturday schedule in the National Hockey League, 12 games of course. Another nice Sunday schedule as well, with some good matchups. We'll get into all the big stories around the National Hockey League, that and much more all straight ahead. Sam Werner from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette will join us. We will talk Penguins because they were involved in probably the best game of Saturday. Pens and Preds. It was a sensational matchup. Also coming up in hour number one, Kristen Odland covers the Calgary Flames for Post Media. We will get the latest on the Flames. Is everyone still excited about Jaromir Jagr? He got his first goal a couple of days ago. In fact, he had a couple of points in that victory for the Calgary Flames. So maybe that win over the Detroit Red Wings and everything's good. I'm still skeptical. I'm still not convinced. Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News will join us. The latest on the Stars. A big victory at home against the Islanders in their last contest. They are set to take on the Carolina Hurricanes on Monday. And of course, it's Sunday, and that means it's Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. The only place to find the Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw is here on Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis every Sunday at 12:45 Eastern. Looking forward to a busy couple of hours with a lot to get into. Hockey Unfiltered streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, which you can download now at the App Store, live across Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, and as mentioned, the Hockey Unfiltered app. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to reach us. By the way, if you missed it yesterday and I was scurrying around at the end of the program and didn't give it proper mention, our HU dog of the day was Casey. Photo was tweeted out. It's up on Instagram, up on our Facebook page as well. Casey submitted by @FlyersFan4Life. That's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day for Saturday. Hashtag is HU Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. We accept and look forward to your nominations using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Hopefully you're having a good Sunday, morning after another entertaining Saturday in the National Hockey League. The Saturday schedule is always busy. It's always packed, lots of games, lots of interesting matchups. You'll always find that on a busy Saturday. There were a dozen on Saturday the 11th, spread throughout the day. We had a couple of afternoon games. We have another 4 on Sunday, which is nice. No afternoon games, gets going a little bit later, but that's okay. It just kind of launches you into another week, and that will take us to approximately the 1/4 mark of the NHL season. So yes, it's not quite U.S. Thanksgiving, and many people will point to that as an important time and the critical time. No, it's only a few days after next weekend, and next weekend is pretty much the 1/4 mark of the NHL year for all of the clubs. So we will use next weekend as our opportunity to give you a quarterly report on each of the 31 NHL teams. Yeah, that will come up next weekend. Just kind of assess where they are, whether they've accomplished what you figured they would in the early part of the season, or whether or not they have kind of gone off the rails a little bit, whether they're exceeding expectations or whether they're doing better. But the fun thing about Saturday, always a busy schedule, lots of games going on. You generally have more time on a Saturday. It's still, as much as we say it's a 24/7 world, it's still a Monday to Friday world. And a 9 to 5 world to a great deal of the same extent. But you get the chance to enjoy different games. Maybe you're fortunate enough to have the NHL TV or center ice or however you consume the games and watch them, as many as you can. But typically it is a busy Saturday. And unlike Tuesdays and Thursdays, which are also normally busy nights in the National Hockey League, Saturday, there's a little more time available. There's not as many people working. And you have a little more time to enjoy the games, to kind of follow along with the stories and the players. And if there's something great happening in one game, you can jump over and catch that one if you weren't watching it in the first place. But that's having a little more time to focus and pay attention and push away some of the other distractions in life. You do that on Saturday. That's why Hockey Night in Canada became such a focal point in Canadian life. Growing up, it was Saturday night hockey. That's the way it was. The week revolved around it. You watch the game. When I started, there was only one game on. It wasn't until later that they started with double headers. Game used to start at 8 o'clock on Saturday nights. When you're a kid, you get to stay up late. There's no school the next day. It was your chance to see your favorite team, your favorite players. Life is so much different now. It's impossible to create that same kind of appointment viewing, except for special events like the Super Bowl. You do not get that same kind of appointment viewing that you did with hockey on Saturday nights in Canada. NBC has tried to do that on Wednesday nights. It's tried to make that the focus tune time for the NHL with their rivalry night. It's the middle of the week. It's a totally different dynamic. It's the US versus Canada. I just think it has been so poorly executed, and it's just a much tougher job now. You're only going to be able to achieve a certain amount of success doing that. But Saturday's different. Always something that you can find, always something unique, always something interesting. In the current NHL life cycle, there are plays that are occurring now that just a few years ago, everyone would have been exclaiming, oh, that's the goal of the year. Oh, that's the save of the year. That's the best pass or setup play and a goal resulting that we have ever seen. Those kinds of plays are occurring on a nightly basis now in the NHL. No, I don't think this is just because we have greater accessibility and every game is on television and every game is on radio or you can stream it. This is because the level of play, the level of skill have continued to grow and increase. We are getting best play of the year candidates on a nightly basis. Players coming into the league now have never been more skilled. They have never been better prepared. They come into the league, and yes, while some will come in and go up and down, back to junior or back to the minors occasionally, players come into the league, they succeed, they perform at a level that can lift us off our couch or out of our seats if we're fortunate enough to be in the building on a nightly basis. It's a combination of factors. It's the evolution. It's the combination of better training. It's better coaching. It's better enforcement of the rules like hooking and slashing and the limiting of skilled players. We are benefiting by seeing the game played faster, played at a better pace, a higher skill level than ever before. It's a great time to be a hockey fan. So yeah, the game is changing, or as I prefer to say, it's evolving, but the game has constantly evolved. It's doing it faster now than it did years ago. Instead of change taking 20, 30, 40, 50 years, things happen quicker now because life happens quicker now. But there are still resistors of change, and it's frustrating. There will always be resistors of change. There's a faction of people that just don't want anything to be any different, don't want any sort of change. Oh, I'm in my little comfort zone. Don't change it. Resistors of change in hockey and in life will always be there. Just ignore that noise. Welcome it. Embrace it. Look forward to it. But there's always going to be that noise. There's always going to be that complaining. Do you enjoy the game being played at the highest level ever? Most skill, highest level of speed? Yes. More talent, more skill in the game. If you enjoy it, welcome it, embrace it, and ignore all the manufactured drama that others are keeping around. Goal scoring is still up overall in the NHL. There's a few more low-scoring games creeping in now. Notice that over the last week. There are a few more low-scoring games. I'm not saying it's bad. Not all low-scoring games are bad. Some of them are very exciting. Some of them are very good, kind of fun to watch. We had a few games on Saturday that were low-scoring games, but they had entertaining moments in them. A week ago, we were talking about a bunch of high-scoring games and multi-goal comebacks that occurred. Saturday, there was a little more low-scoring action, a few low-scoring results in games, but still plenty of drama, plenty of action, plenty of fun. Columbus, Detroit, they played a pretty entertaining game. Blue Jackets snapped their losing skid. They won in a shootout against the Detroit Red Wings. Went 9 rounds before they finally decided this one. It was great. Jack Johnson scored the game-winning goal in the shootout. Sergei Bobrovsky was unbelievable in this game. He made some saves that were save of the year candidates, but we're seeing that on a nightly basis now. They're still jaw-dropping, and we're just seeing more plays like that because the game is getting better. He made a save, an unbelievable, sprawling desperation save in the overtime period with a 2-on-none breakaway. And Andreas Athanasiou flipped the puck up, looked like it was going in, and he just caught the puck with the back of his skate as he was sprawled face first on the ice, kept it out. It was remarkable to watch. But these are the kinds of plays you're seeing on a nightly basis now. That's the great thing. Montreal, Buffalo, 2-1 game. There was excitement. There was drama. Jonathan Drouin, Shea Weber were back in the lineup. Charlie Lindgren played another good game. Max Pacioretty scored a beauty in overtime to win it for the Canadiens. Buffalo, I thought they had this game. They were playing really well for the first couple of periods. Montreal kicked it into high gear in the third period, tied the game, won it in overtime. Minnesota and Philly, a 1-0 game. There was action. It didn't go nonstop from the drop of the opening faceoff right to the end. There were some lulls, but there were some good chances for both teams to score. 1-0. Devin Dubnyk was great. So was Brian Elliott. I like a good goaltending matchup. I think it's great. I think it's fun to watch. This was a good game. Seems like Bruce Boudreau's message of getting back to playing the game properly is working. Minnesota has gone back-to-back now and shut out the opposition. Shut out Philly, shut out Montreal, got back-to-back victories. Jason Zucker is the only one scoring goals. Pencil him in as one of the players of the week. Was it the last 6 goals or 7 goals he scored for the Minnesota Wild? He's the guy at the moment. Those games were entertaining. Minnesota, Philly, it had little lulls in it, had dull moments, but overall the game was pretty good, even a low-scoring game. Because the talent and skill level across the NHL is higher than it's ever been, and the level of play is elevating to new levels all the time. Game that stuck out, though, last night, as I mentioned a bit earlier, the Nashville Predators, Pittsburgh Penguins. Boy, that was fun. The Stanley Cup final rematch. Really enjoyable game. I'm watching everything as I usually do on a Saturday night, sitting with my remote control, and I'm going back and forth and trying to watch all the games and catch all the important moments, see as much as I can. I kept coming back to this one. I kept coming back because it was so captivating. Pittsburgh scores to go up 1-0 in the game, and then the Nashville Predators start to score. And they kept scoring, and they took a big lead. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins came back. There were momentum shifts back and forth in this game. 5-4 was the final. Nashville won the game in the shootout. Some really good saves by both goaltenders. Even though there were a whole bunch of goals scored by both teams, there were a lot of really good saves by the goaltenders. Kyle Turris in his first game for his new team since the big 3-way. Sidney Crosby hadn't scored in 10 games, so that's a storyline and a narrative going in. It was a good game. It was a lot of fun to watch. And that kind of skill, that kind of elevated play is what we're seeing throughout the National Hockey League. Oh, sure, there's some teams that are better than others, and some you can say, you know what, it's not going to happen this year, and it's going to be a long season. That's true. But they still have talented players. They still look good at times. They can still beat other teams on given nights. The level of play is higher than it's ever been. And there are still those that are resistant to it because the game continues to evolve. Just ignore that noise. Forget all about it. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Kristen Odland coming up later on this hour. We'll talk a little Calgary Flames, who are getting set for a matchup on Monday against the St. Louis Blues. In the next segment, Sam Werner from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette will join us. We'll talk about the Pens, the game last night against the Nashville Predators, and what's ahead this week for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and much more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition. Back with much more after the break. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime.
Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition. Here Saturdays and Sundays, 11 Eastern, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Stephen Laidlaw with the managing editor of DobberHockey.com with the Fantasy 5 coming up. Mike Heika coming up from the Dallas Morning News to talk Stars. Kristen Odland will join us to talk Calgary Flames on the program today. Happy to welcome back from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He covers the Penguins. Great game last night against the Nashville Predators. Pens wound up losing in the shootout 5-4. Sam Werner covers the Pens for the Post-Gazette. At S Werner, PG is how you follow him on Twitter. Sam, I know the Penguins lost, but was that just generally an enjoyable game for everyone to watch? Lots of drama back and forth, lots of emotion, lots of twists and turns. I just thought it was terrific.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all you can ask for out of a Stanley Cup Finals rematch with these two teams. And I think it was a great game to watch. And from the Penguins' point of view, yes, they ended up losing in the shootout, but I think there were a lot of things there that they were pretty happy and honestly kind of relieved to see playing the second night of a back-to-back after facing Friday. To get some even and then after going down 3-1, they got some pushback, which a lot of guys said was the real issue in D.C. was that when the Capitals pulled ahead, they had no response. They had no answer. And you saw that in Nashville. They sort of clawed back to tie it up and force overtime. So the trouble this team has had with back-to-backs this year, to have that effort on the second night is certainly something they're happy to see.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were making a big deal about the second night of back-to-backs earlier on this season because the Pens have so many back-to-backs as part of their schedule this year. But I don't think the goaltending is an issue anymore now that Tristan Jarry is up. Well, I know there's some that speculate that he may not be there for the remainder of the season and the Pens might be looking for veteran help. But as soon as they made that switch, the goaltending was no longer a problem. And I think that bringing in Riley Sheahan also helps their depth at center, which is exactly what they're looking for. So this is a team that knows what to do as the season moves along. And I don't think there's any real great cause for concern.
Yeah, at this point, I think, it's one of those things where I go back to early to middle of September, sort of looking at the schedule and you're seeing all these road games, seeing all the back-to-backs, and sort of thinking, okay, if the Penguins can get out of this at or at 500 or maybe a little bit above, they'll be in really good shape heading into the December, January, February, when the schedule lightens up a bit. You're in the midst of it and you're losing games 10-1 to Chicago and 7-1 to Winnipeg. It feels like a disaster and the walls are caving in at a certain point. But then you just sort of got to think back, like, wait, I said earlier 500 was sort of what the realistic goal was, and they're going to come out above 500. They're going to come out of this stretch in good shape. So I think you're right. They're sort of finding their sea legs a little bit more so this year than they had to last year. But, those changes he pointed to, bringing up Jari to sort of stabilize the goaltending, he's been pretty good in his game so far. And then bring in Riley Shane. I think Shane is still sort of figuring out exactly how he fits in the Penguin system. But that's natural for a guy that comes not only comes from a new team, but comes from a team in Detroit that was at the bottom of the standings, and now he's playing with back-to-back Stanley Cup champions every night. So I think that's sort of a normal process at this point.
And I think that the coaching staff and management understands as well that they've played a lot of hockey the last few years. Their summer has been short, and it's going to take this team a little while to figure things out and get themselves moving in the right direction and playing at the consistently high level on a consistent basis. And that's something that fans aren't necessarily patient with, but management and the coaching staff, I think, will understand that a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jim Rutherford said either a couple days or a week or so ago, normally he likes to take about 20 games into a season to sort of assess where a team's at, what its strengths and weaknesses are, and what he feels like he needs to do. But he admitted that with this team, given coming off of back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, a short summer, and all the sort of travel schedule, the back-to-backs, that sort of thing, all the stuff that this team has dealt with so far, he admitted it might take a little bit longer than 20 games to sort of settle in and for him to accurately assess, okay, is there anything I need to go get at the trade deadline? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? How can I get this roster ready for April? Because when you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, that's really what counts, is being ready for April. These games in November are just sort of prologue for this team.
Yeah, exactly. Sam Werner is with us from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He covers the Penguins at @SWerner PG is how you follow him on Twitter. The Pens' next contest comes up against the Buffalo Sabres. Okay, so Sidney Crosby hasn't scored in a bunch of games, and I know that's going to be a concern for Sidney Crosby because he'll become frustrated with himself and can't understand why he can't put the puck in the net. But again, it's not something I don't think people should really be worried about. It will turn around eventually.
Yeah, if there's any player who you can have faith that he'll get back on track, it should be Sidney Crosby. And like everything else, I think you look at that game against Nashville last night, and he was getting shot attempts, he was getting looks at goal that maybe he wasn't getting in the past couple of games. And so I think that was probably the best sign we've seen from him during this 11-game goalless stretch, which it is admittedly it's the second longest of his career, and the only longer one he had was in 2011-2012 when he missed 40 games with concussions. And so that stretch spanned over a couple of injury absences too. So, this is pretty unprecedented for him, but like I said, you're seeing the good things, especially last night in Nashville. I think he was a lot more aggressive at sort of hunting his shot and getting looks at goal than we have seen in the games before that. So, it's not great. If you had your choice, you'd probably rather have him scoring regularly if you're the Penguins, but like everything else, he'll get it turned around at some point. I do have faith in that.
It's a thing with the Pittsburgh Penguins that you can glance at the statistics quickly and say, whoa, I'm not sure that things are so good for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You mentioned, they've played 19 games so far. The record is 9-7-3. They do not have a goal scorer who has hit double digits yet. So some might think, oh, that might be cause for alarm. Their goal differential is rather significant, but as you alluded to, there were a couple of really lopsided losses early on in the season. I'll flip it around and look at it the other way, is they are getting contributions in goal scoring from a number of different sources, and they aren't having to rely on just one or two guys. I would see that as a positive. Yeah, absolutely. I think with this team, just sort of the weird way the season started for them,
you sort of have to. The goal differential is certainly an ugly number, but you sort of have to throw that out when you're assessing them because, does it really matter if they gave up 6 or 10 goals against Chicago that one night? And I sort of feel the same way. You look at a lot of people have cited both Chris Letang and Sidney Crosby have some pretty bad plus minuses on the year, but does it matter if they were on for goals 8, 9, and 10 or goals 6 and 7 against Winnipeg? I don't think that's really relevant to assessing their play. Again, I feel like I keep going back to last night's game, but you look at where the goals came from, especially guys like Brian Rust and Jake Gensel. That's a pretty welcome sight for the Penguins because when they started off the year, Rust especially was really. And so if he can get going again and start producing, and then especially with Gensel, I think that's the easiest way to get Sidney Crosby back on track too, is to have Jake Gensel scoring the way he was towards the end of last year. So those are positive developments. I think you'd probably like your superstars to have better numbers than they do right now, but those will come, and I think they'll take the contributions wherever they can get them at this point.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to really be overly concerned about. One area, though, with Pittsburgh is often the focus of their defense. They've had to deal with some injuries in the early part of the season, plus playing an awful lot of games. Also, there's times I'll watch the Pens play and I'll see Olli Maatta, who plays well, but there's other times that I think there's still that frustration that he hasn't quite been able to make the leap to that next level of play yet.
Yeah, he's cooled off a little bit since the start of the season. I still think, he's in line for a pretty good year this year. I think the problem, and honestly, I think the problem with Chris Letang too is that when they make mistakes, they tend to be pretty noticeable mistakes. They don't have quiet below average games. You sort of notice them out there, but. I think with Maatta, he might need to get back a little bit to being more aggressive offensively. And I think the shift to pair him with Letang these last couple of games has been sort of maybe a work in progress. I'd say that pairing. That's a pairing that I think for a long time they really want to have work, but it's just been really, really up and down when they've put those two guys together. So I wouldn't be surprised moving forward if maybe you switch things up. And I think you pair Maatta with maybe a more reliable defensive presence, like maybe a guy like Matt Hunwick when he gets back.
I was just going to say that.
I thought was coming on early in the year, and that, and that's a guy that plays well with Maatta and allows Maatta to be, the aggressive player offensively that he needs to be successful.
Yeah, and know that someone's got his back if he does get caught or something like that. One more thing before I let you go is I think this year we're seeing people recognize what a good playmaker Phil Kessel is as well. He's always been talked about as being a sniper, but he's a hell of a passer too. Yeah,
I think you could go back to last year's playoffs too. He was racking up the assists during that run last spring. So this is one of those times right now where him and Malkin really seem to have the chemistry going together and they're playing well. And anyone who watches the Penguins knows that's not always the case. These guys sort of go through peaks and valleys in their sort of on ice partnership, but they're clicking right now, and it's fun to watch. I mean, Kessel is just such a fun player to watch. And then when he does when he's able to make passes and be that sort of playmaker, it just sort of adds that element to his game. And I think we've seen that recently here.
Sam Werner covering the Penguins for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette at @SWernerPG is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Sam. We appreciate it and look forward to having you back again soon.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks a lot, Todd.
Thanks, Sam Werner, covering the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's a really good phrase that Sam uses. They're fun to watch. They're a fun team to watch. How about that play on the West Coast, the late game last weekend when the puck went back and forth across the ice and got slammed? Oh, that was just unbelievable. Great game last night with Pittsburgh and Nashville. Yeah, Pittsburgh lost. It was the second half of back-to-back, I know, but I'm not overly worried about the Pittsburgh Penguins. You say, oh my gosh, Sidney Crosby's a -14. How did that happen? Well, they had a couple of lopsided losses early on in the season. Those things will start to even out as the year moves along. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Todd@hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Lots to get to today. Mike Heika will join us with the latest on the Dallas Stars, who seem to be moving in the right direction. Stephen Laidlaw with this week's Fantasy 5, the only place to get the Fantasy 5 every Sunday here at Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. And in our next segment, Kristen Odland from Post Media with the latest on the Calgary Flames. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Later on in the program, Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News. We'll talk Dallas Stars, and Steve Laidlaw will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5, a little help for you and your fantasy hockey pool. Happy to welcome to the show. We want to talk a little Calgary Flames, so of course we go out to Post Media's Kristen Odland, who covers the Flames. You should be following her on Twitter at Kristen_Odland, and she joins us now. So, Kristen, have the Flames been basking in the glory of that victory a few nights ago against the Detroit Red Wings when the offense really kicked in for them?
Yeah, it was quite the win, and really lots to look at out of that win, on a positive scale. But it was really a pretty loose defensive game. Lots of chances, lots of maybe too many scoring chances. They gave up, but hey, Glenn Belton said the other day that sometimes you just get those games, but the good thing is their offense, like you said, what. And I think that's in a season that's been a little bit dominated by their first and second lines, to have the third line kind of get going, and the fourth line had some nice chances too. I think that was a really positive sign for the Flames.
Yeah, that's it. Is they've wanted to seem to balance out their scoring a little bit and get a little bit more from everyone instead of being what is often referred to as a top-heavy team. And when you're trading chances, it's okay when you've been getting great goaltending as they have been from Mike Smith this season. I'm not sure that everyone's as surprised, but I'm a little bit surprised that he's played at such a high level all season.
It's been amazing. Yeah, Mike Smith has really come in here and just owned it. Really, it just goes to show how he was such a big part of the Arizona Coyotes. He was, but he's a leader too in that locker room, and he's relied on so much in other ways, not just to be a goaltender, but here I think it's allowed him just to settle in and just kind of focus on stopping the puck, and he doesn't really have to worry so much about being a leader in the locker room and lead by example and, be a vocal guy. He can be. And if he says something, everybody's going to listen, but he doesn't always have to kind of be that voice in the locker room now. So being able just to sit there, just to focus on stopping pucks, I think has been really, it's been a change in him, and it's benefited the Flames. And they've been, over the past few years, they've just been starving for goaltenders. It's just kind of been a goalie wasteland here in Calgary. You have last year with Brian Elliott and Chad Johnson, and who, by the end of it, but had a pretty rough start to the season, and it's the other thing too with Mike Smith is he's a bona fide number one goaltender. Like, he's been in this league and started in this league and been an everyday number one guy, and the Flames just haven't really had that, and it makes it a lot easier for the coaching staff to have a guy that they know is going to be their starter every night. So Glenn Gulson did say we'll see Eddie Lack fairly soon. The Flames go on the road for a 7-game road trip after Monday's game against the St. Louis Blues. So could see Eddie Lack. Well, the way that Eddie Lack played against the St. Louis Blues in his career may suggest that he might go tomorrow night. He was 6-0 prior to against the St. Louis Blues prior to the last time that they were in St. Louis on the 25th of October. So the Flames lost that game, of course, but you could see Eddie Lack fairly soon, maybe even on Monday, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just went right back to Smith and rode him again.
Yeah, that would seem to make sense, just because he's been so good. You want to finish up the homestand before heading out the road with a strong performance. Kristen Odland is with us from Post Media, covers the Calgary Flames. At Kristen_Odland is how you follow her on Twitter. Okay, so let's get to the Jaromir Jagr question. He was signed after much fanfare. He came in, played a little bit, got hurt, but he did get his first goal the other night. You've seen him since he arrived. You've been covering the team. I'm still really skeptical that this is a move that works out well for the Calgary Flames. What have you seen so far?
He's an interesting and a very interesting guy. Like, I think production wise, it's a sort of a low risk signing. And yeah, I'm with you. I was pretty skeptical too when the Flames made the deal. Really though, it's a low risk, high reward signing for the Flames, and he just wants to play. Like, he doesn't want to be given the star treatment. Obviously he does, because of his, the fact that he's 45 years old and still doing all of the same crazy weight stuff and that he's been known for in his he still can make some amazing plays, and he's so smart, and the way he thinks the game and communicate with all the players, and he kind of has a little bit of wise words of wisdom for kind of everybody, really. You just see him talking to Johnny Gaudreau and Sam Bennett and just having little conversations here and there, and on a line with Mark Jankowski, and I thought this was really interesting, and Sam Bennett. And Mark Jankowski was called up not too long ago, so he hasn't really been with the team all that long, and he's young, and he's Mark Jankowski's kind of been an interesting guy, because it's a bit of a 5-year project for the Flames. It's finally paying off for them. But it was interesting when Glenn Gulson was saying that Jaromir just wants him to play, and that doesn't mean always deferring to him, always passing the puck to Jaromir and kind of always making him make the play. He wants Mark Jankowski just to play. So I really liked watching the two of them kind of build some chemistry in that game against the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, Mark Jankowski scored his first NHL goal, which was hilarious because it was right off of his thigh. And you see this, it was just like this garbage, ugly goal. But hey, they all count at the end of the year, and that's his first one. So, and to have Jaromir Jagr assist your goal, your first NHL goal, like, that doesn't get any better, I don't think. So, and then of course for Jagr to score as well, his first goal as a member of the Flames. It was just a kind of a picture perfect night. But yeah, I mean, he like you said, it is an interesting sign though, because he was out for 6 games with a groin injury because he's 45 years old and didn't have a training camp and had to wrap up pretty quickly and get into game shape, and then was injured. So I mean, that's kind of going to be come with the territory. It kind of comes with the territory of having a guy like Jaromir Jagr, who's obviously done so much in the league. He's a living legend, but you still have to be a little bit careful with a guy like that. So, you know, production-wise, I don't know how high their expectations are, but he's certainly showing that he's invaluable, I think, at this point for the Flames right now.
He's the Dolly Jagr because of the wisdom and knowledge that he's passing on to everyone, isn't it? I'm trademarking that phrase, the Dolly Jagr. That's going to be mine. That's mine now.
Well,
it's go ahead.
It's funny though. I said it was. I said he's kind of like the Yoda. Like he's like
wise, same thing.
Wise old guy, and he's not old, but yeah, he's been really in. Everybody loves talking to him, and he's always laughing and smiling, and he really loves the game still. And at 45 years old, it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you mentioned that the team has told Mark Jankowski, just play your game. Don't always feel you have to defer to him, and that was the biggest concern I had with Jaromir Jagr, is that he was going to alter how the style of play was dictated out on the ice, because they were going to have to cater to him. But if Jankowski or Bennett and whoever else he's lined up with out on the ice just plays their game, does what has made them successful to this point in their career, maybe it is a workable situation. But we'll have to see. And by the way, I think Jankowski, when he tells that story years from now, that was a snipe in the top corner. It wasn't something that bounced off his leg into the net.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah. Well, and like you said, to have. I mean, he's very good with all the young players too. Like he'll talk to them constantly on the bench and on the ice, and he'll tell them where he's going to be, so it helps them be in better positions. And I think I just love watching him interact with the younger players and they just, you know, anything that he said about Johnny Gaudreau, that Johnny Gaudreau could win the scoring title every year. Like, to have a guy say something like that to you or about you, like, that's got to resonate. So, I mean, when he says something, everybody listens.
Oh yeah, he's there to pump tires. That's what he's doing. So, but if it's working so far for the Flames, that's good. You mentioned the game that the other night against the Detroit Red Wings. So it was kind of wide open, kind of back and forth. Is that going to be the focus of Glenn Gulutzan and his staff? Just kind of, okay, we like the offense, but maybe we need to remember that we're supposed to have one of the best defense corps in the National Hockey League occasionally.
Exactly. Yeah. It's and they play. Like, the Eastern teams are pretty cliquish, like Detroit and the Devils, and they're young and they're fast. So I think we'll start to see a little bit more of a clamping down on their defensive, probably their defensive game, I think, against the St. Louis Blues at least. But they're heading back into the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, it's going to be definitely a big focus of them. And their penalty kill needs a bit of improvement. And the other thing, too, not having Travis Hamonic, they played 2 young defenders on Thursday against the Detroit Red Wings. They had Brett Kulak and Rasmus Anderson, who was a call-up. So he played his second NHL game. Quite confident. I think that he needs to work on his gap control. And that's just comes with timing and experience. And but had a nice game for his second NHL game. So without Travis Hamonic, who is going to be skating today at practice, I've heard. So he should be closer to his return, but he's dealing with a lower body injury. So he's been out for about a week, but seems to be improving. So it's not something that's too major, I don't think. But I think that's also a part of it too. Mark Giordano's wife also had his second child, their second child. So he was a bit tired, I think, on Thursday. They just had their baby, I think, in the early hours on Thursday morning. So that could have played into it too. So a couple of different factors to why Thursday's game was pretty wide open. It wasn't as defensively sound as maybe they'd like it to be, but no excuses still. It's something they need to clamp down on for sure, especially when they go back out to the Eastern Conference on that road trip.
One more thing, just before I let you go, you mentioned Mark Giordano and his wife having their second child. I was going to ask about him, and you bring up a good point about distractions and how players have to live life like the rest of us, but also are expected to perform at a really high level. And if your second child is being born, you can understand why your focus might not be entirely on the ice. And I'll say the same thing about Dougie Hamilton, who is a member of the Calgary Flames, but his brother Freddie was put on waivers. And it's amazing how stuff away from the ice impacts your play on the ice sheet.
Oh, absolutely. Like we expect them to just be these machines, and it's I think the members of the media sometimes forget that these kind of humans, and you do, and it's been interesting too with this homestand. The Flames have been at home for 7 games now. This is their 7th game. Tomorrow night is going to be their 7th game at home, which is an incredibly long homestand. I think the official count is 18 days at home, which is quite, obviously you think that, that's great. They can kind of get into this groove, and they're settling in at home a little bit and working on their home record, but it's been, Glenn Gullickson said the other day that it's actually been a lot busier, I think, for a lot of the players, because there's demands and there's off-ice commitments, and there's lots of things for them to sort of be aware of off the ice. So it's kind of, when you're on the road for a long time too, although it can be taxing, you're just sort of focusing on playing. So I thought that was interesting the other day when Glenn Gullickson said that. But like you said, Freddie Hamilton was put on waivers, so the Flames have, I think it was less now than 30 days to do something with Freddie Hamilton. He's still with the team and practicing, so he hasn't been sent down to the Stockton Heat just yet. But a little bit of an interesting scenario with him and Dougie Hamilton, and Freddie Hamilton just hasn't played, so it's kind of like, they have to get him playing. And if he's not going to be playing if there's not a spot for him at the NHL level, well, what are you going to do with him? So that's a little bit of an interesting scenario with having your brother there. But they're professionals at the same side of it too. So they get it. They get the business side, and Dougie Ham, they've kind of always been in that situation in their careers. So, and then like you said, Mark Giordano has, it's just part of life, though. I mean, that's just something that they have to deal with, and you roll with it. But the Flames are generally pretty good about the guys with kids, and they're allowed to kind of have their kids around. It's Mike Smith has 4 kids, and they had a couple of them at after the game the other night, and Christopher Steve's kids are always around. So the Flames are pretty good about that kind of stuff. But we do think that they should be these machines that don't have any emotions and just play and focus on their Corsi stats, and they're just people too.
Yeah, exactly. Kristen Odland from Post Media, covering the Calgary Flames, at Kristen_Odland to follow her on Twitter. Good stuff, Kristen. Really enjoyed it. Lots of fun, and hopefully we'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me on. That was great.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Kristen Odland covering the Calgary Flames. So yeah, the Dali Yager. Maybe that's how we should refer to him. Yeah, if you want to use that, that's fine. Just remember where you got Dali Yager, imparting wisdom on the youth on the Calgary Flames roster. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Lots to get into. We'll tell you some of the stuff coming up over the next week, what's ahead on next week's program. Also, in the next hour, Mike Heika will join us. We'll talk Dallas Stars. Steve Laidlaw with the original, the Fantasy 5, every Sunday here on Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. All coming up. Back with much more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Welcome back. It's Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. We're here every Saturday and Sunday beginning at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, powered by Primetime Radio. We're streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app. You can download it now at the App Store. If you miss an episode of the program, and of course, there's our Little Saturday podcast. You don't want to miss any of it. You can check it out on our website, subscribe through iTunes, and again on the Hockey Unfiltered app. Coming up on the program in hour number 2, Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News will join us. We'll talk a little Dallas Stars. And, of course, it's Sunday, and it is the Fantasy 5 with Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, the only place you will find the Fantasy 5. Good Saturday in the NHL, busy Saturday, 12 games, lots of fun action, a few low-scoring games, but there was good, exciting play in that as well. Really enjoyed it. Low scoring, high scoring. I've been really excited about what we have seen so far in the National Hockey League in the 2017-18 season. The on-ice performance continues to grow, continues to advance, and move to a higher level. It is fun to see. It is fun to watch. Yeah, sure, when there's more than 1,200 games a season, there's going to be some that are, well, it wasn't great, but it was okay. But overall, the skill level, the performance level of teams, all 31 teams, it continues to move up. Better players allowed to use their skill and talents, and it really frustrates me when I hear people lamenting, oh, hockey isn't what it used to be. It's not the same now. The game we see out on the ice today is not the same game the way it used to be. You're right. It's not. It's way better. Far superior to what used to be on display every night. On a consistent basis, plays of the year happening on a nightly basis. More players have more talent and more skill than ever before. I don't see how there's a negative to this. Oh, you have you don't have to pay a price anymore when you're out there. You're right. You don't have to endure hooking. You don't have to endure holding. You don't have to endure water skiing and the slashing to the same level that there used to be. That's not paying a price. That's allowing cheaters to dictate how the play happens out on the ice. Drags down the level of play. Slows down the game. And I'm good with it. I like it. Progress is positive. Staying the same leaves you behind. Teams talk about it. Players talk about it. Coaches talk about it all the time. It's so funny when they do, actually.
You hear about all these so-called experts as well, analysts that they bring in, so-called experts, guys that have been out of the game for 10, 20 years. And it's always, well, you got to shake things up. You got to try a new line. You got to use a new combination. You got to use some different plays on your power play or different ways to generate offense. Maybe you chip the puck in more as opposed to trying to carry it or pass it. You got to change things. But those same people, oh, the game's not the same as it used to be. Oh, you're really changing things. It's different. Huh? What? You can't have it both ways. Oh, gosh. Change and try to improve things. Oh, you can't stay the same. If you're staying the same, the other team's going to be beating you. But when the rules change to allow for more skill and more talent to come to the forefront and make for a more exciting, fun, and entertaining game, oh, they get all bent out of shape about that. Makes me crazy. Unbelievable how you can be that backwards in your thinking. Games faster, games more fun, more players with more skill, and the ability to use it on a nightly basis. That's the best part. Oh, it's just been it's been something to see. Oh yeah. I want to remind you of a couple of things coming up on the program over the next week as well. Back by popular demand. We did it last year. Huge response, very well received. So we are doing it again, just the way Oprah did and still does, as a matter of fact. She doesn't have her TV show anymore, but still does it in the magazine. And with Ellen's 12 Days of Christmas and Oprah's favorite things, it's Todd's favorite things. The list is nearing completion. It's being looked at and revised. The big reveal of the full list will come next weekend on the program. Join us Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. We will have little peeks at the list this coming week. Follow us on social media, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, on Twitter, on Instagram. Make sure you're checking out our Facebook page as well. We'll have some little snippets. We'll give you some little sneak previews of what's to come on the list of favorite things just in time for the holidays, just in time for the big shopping season. Black Friday's a week and a half away. So all of these items on the list, you'll be able to see them. The big reveal will come next weekend. We're looking forward to that. Also, and I'll say so right now, because one of the items on the list is our book of the month for November. It's called Behind the Bench, Inside the Minds of Hockey's Greatest Coaches. We had the author, Craig Custance, who's now working and doing great stuff for The Athletic, on with us last week. A really interesting conversation, and there is even more good stuff in the book. Behind the Bench, Inside the Minds of Hockey's Greatest Coaches. Craig Custance is the author. He sat down, went through video with some great coaches like Mike Babcock and John Tortorella and a whole bunch of others, and tells their story and really gives you a little bit of insight into them, their personality, what makes them tick, how they work, how they operate. It's very good. So that's one item. The full list will be revealed next weekend on the program. Make sure you're tuned in for us Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app. We're live on Periscope. We're live on Facebook and YouTube Live, just as we are every Saturday and Sunday. It is a busy hour number 2 coming up with Mike Heika and Steve Laidlaw joining us. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break. There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
What a busy first hour. Super busy second hour coming up as well. Joining us to talk a little Dallas Stars. We're coming off a big victory against the Islanders, who have a contest against the Carolina Hurricanes coming up on Monday night. Is Mike Heika of the Dallas Morning News, covers the Stars. He'll be here with the latest. And, of course, the original, imitated, but never duplicated. Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be here with us at his regular time for this week's Fantasy 5. 5 names for you to keep in mind in your fantasy hockey pool. A little help, maybe a little defensive help, maybe a little scoring help. Maybe you're looking for a little extra punch. Try and squeeze in another question or two for Steve as well, because we're getting to the point where you're thinking, maybe do I want to hang on to this player any longer? Someone you've maybe taken a chance on at the start of the season. Thinking about maybe it's time to cut bait. Maybe I look for a better option. So we'll talk to Steve about that and a whole bunch of other things as well. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. We're streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. Live on Facebook, live on Periscope, on YouTube Live. Oh, it's been a busy Saturday in the NHL with so many good games. Some low-scoring games as well as high-scoring games. It's fun to watch. Very entertaining games. Columbus and Detroit was a low-scoring game on Saturday night, but plenty of chances both ways. Goaltenders played really well, including Sergei Bobrovsky making a ridiculous save on a 2-on-none breakaway in OT, a chance to win it. Kicks the right skate up, keeps the puck out. Andreas Athanasiou just shakes his head afterwards. Minnesota and Philly played a 1-0 game. Now, it wasn't riveting from start to finish, but it had some good moments, had some excitement, had lots of scoring chances. Devin Dubnyk was sensational. That's his second straight shutout. Brian Elliott was also good for the Philadelphia Flyers. Only one got by, but if you don't score any, it's pretty tough to win. Nashville and Pittsburgh, game of the night though. 5-4, shootout victory. Preds get the win. Oh, I know, Pittsburgh lost again on the second half of a back-to-back. I'm not super worried about Pittsburgh. They're going to be okay. They're already at 19 games played. A lot of back-to-backs, a lot of games played in the first almost month and a half of the season. That is a lot. That means more days off near the second half and the end of the season. That will benefit them in the long run. I'm not super worried about Pittsburgh. I think they'll be okay. By the way, next weekend on the program coming up, don't forget quarterly reports. We're going to do it every quarter, oddly enough, of the NHL season, and we'll be at approximately the 1/4 mark of the NHL season next weekend. Yeah, it's just a couple days before the U.S. Thanksgiving, so we'll have quarterly reports on all 31 of the NHL teams. Whether it's low-scoring or some of the high-scoring games, last week it was about comebacks and high-scoring games, good low-scoring games, but it's been fun. There's been a lot of good games, lots of excitement, more skill on display, more talent on display. Oh, there are those that resist change and don't want the game to progress. Ignore them.
move along, continue to enjoy the great progress that is being achieved, enjoy the great skill and talent that's on display on a nightly basis in the NHL, enjoy the fun, entertaining part of the game instead of this, oh, they never used to do it that way. Yeah, you're right, because this is better. And that's where we've gotten to now. Now, part of that and how the game is different, how it has evolved over the years, and it is positive that there is change and evolution in the game because we get better hockey, we get better players, get to see more skill, more talent on display. The other part that is evolving and many don't understand, including many of those who are actually in the media and business of disseminating news and information, is how that is actually changing and has changed. It's not completely changed enough, but mostly on these mainstream outlets. At times, it is so antiquated the way that information is or isn't distributed. That's another area that needs to evolve. Give you an example. A few coaches over the last week were rather forthcoming, rather blunt, if you want, in their discussion about their teams, about players, and about their performance. They thought, this is the way it is. I'm going to say it. I was posed a question. I'm going to give a forthright answer about it. So that's a problem for some people. John Tortorella does say some provocative things at times. In a recent post-game presser, he was asked about his team, and he said, oh, we're a dumb team tonight. We're just dumb. Pretty easy to understand how he feels about his team. Bruce Boudreau of the Minnesota Wild. If he were them, he'd have been embarrassed about how they played. That was Boudreau's post-game comment a couple of days ago. No gray area there. Pretty recent assessment. Friday night, the New York Islanders and head coach Doug Weight, they got smoked by the Dallas Stars. Absolutely handed it to them. So Doug Weight was asked about his team's performance post-game. I believe it was Shannon Hogan doing a post-game interview. And he said it would be nice to see some heart, putting out some sort of effort, actually following a game plan. Another time that a coach in the National Hockey League said something of substance rather than spewing out cliches. What a nice, welcome change this is. Oh, except for those who don't ever want anything to change and who live in the past. There's some that still think that this is a mistake, that a coach answers a question in an honest and forthright manner. Of course, usually those that are spouting this kind of nonsense that, oh, you shouldn't be saying stuff like that, are former coaches or players who haven't been involved with a team in years and spew this kind of nonsense, and it's easy to see why. Old school fools is what they are. Was anything that was said in public by these three coaches, John Tortorella, Bruce Boudreau, or Doug Weight, was anything they said in public when asked a question something that they wouldn't say to a player directly? Not even close. Any coach who has achieved that kind of success in the NHL has communicated clearly with their players. They understand what is expected of them. It isn't about mind games. It isn't about ripping players every hour on the hour. Players are smarter than they have ever been, and they want more information than ever. They want to understand the process of what's going on, what the team is trying to achieve. If they say, this is our plan for offense, this is a play we want to use. They want to understand their role. They want to understand what the other players' roles are. And if they're not doing it, they're going to be told they're not doing it. And they're going to have it pointed out again and again and again. But these washed up lifers who think they know what's going on, oh, I would never rip the team in public. I'd say something like, oh, yeah, that goalie probably wants that one back. Or if there's a player that had some poor defensive choices made, oh, that player probably had a tough night. Right. And that's the kind of nonsense that just doesn't wash anymore. These former coaches are just so frustrating to listen to. Coaches like Boudreau, like Weight, like Tortorella, they're not saying anything in public that they wouldn't say to their players. And you know what? The public is smarter than that.
They understand that. Players know it. They understand that this is a coach who's talked to them before he has the post-game interview. And all through the game, if they've made a mistake, you don't think that that player maybe heard about it on the bench? Oh, I wouldn't be saying things like that in public. Fans are too smart for this kind of cliche-filled nonsense that these former washed-up fourth-liners or coaches that haven't been in the league for 20 years suggest that, oh, this is what you should be saying. This is what you should be doing. No, they shouldn't. Ask the question, give them an honest answer. You're not going to give away game plans. You're not going to give away secrets. If a player has a tough night, makes a mistake, it's okay to point that out. This is not new. But, oh, we don't want progress. We don't want change. You can't be doing that. Fans are smarter than ever. Players are smarter than ever. This is not the kind of stuff. You can't just blow smoke up their butt and say, oh, well, yeah, maybe that player had kind of a tough night and maybe we just need to dig in a little deeper and kind of be ready to go right at the puck drop and get pucks deep and that kind of nonsense and garbage. It doesn't fly anymore. Players are more open and honest in assessments and comments on social media. So what's the problem with a coach saying, you know what? We didn't have it tonight. We weren't good. We didn't show any heart. We didn't play well. We didn't follow our game plan. These are not state secrets that's being revealed. This is just providing an honest assessment of your team, and fans are smart enough to understand that. Oh, yeah, we were really dumb tonight. Took some dumb penalties. What's so controversial about that? Oh, I'd be embarrassed. We didn't play well. That's not a bad thing. There are times that players should be embarrassed on the ice. Maybe they need to have it pointed out to them. I can bet you that the coach, whether it's the head coach and or the assistant coaches, also pointed it out to him on the bench long before the comment was ever made in the media. This is all part of progress. This is all part of the evolution and how we consume the game. It makes for a better game. It makes for better coverage of the game. Having these kind of open and honest assessments and having a coach be forthright in his comments makes for a better game, makes for better coverage. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Oh, yes. If you miss a show, don't forget you can subscribe to our podcast through iTunes and iHeartRadio, and including our Little Saturday podcast, which is a little bit of weekend in the middle of the week. Drops on Wednesday afternoon. It's a little midweek hockey talk, just about the biggest current stories that are going on in the National Hockey League. You can subscribe through iTunes, iHeartRadio, and of course, listen on our app. If you missed it yesterday, our Saturday Dog of the Day, hashtag HU Dog of the Day, do it every Saturday. Ask fans to nominate their dog or one they love. Casey was yesterday's winner, nominated by @FlyersFan for Life. You can check it out on our Facebook page, up on our website. Oh, and there's another great dog story as well from yesterday. The Rockford Ice Hogs, the AHL team for the Chicago Blackhawks, had wiener dog races out on the ice on Friday. Didn't find it till late yesterday. It's spectacular. You can't help but smile and giggle when you see it. We'll check it out. The Rockford Ice Hogs wiener dog races that took place on Friday night. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. A busy rest of the hour coming up. Stephen Laidlaw will join us with the Fantasy Five. And in our next segment, Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News with the latest on the Stars. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis back after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you miss the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with SeatGiant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design, industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com on the Hockey Unfiltered app, all powered by Primetime Radio. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, managing editor of DobberHockey.com, will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5, a bit of help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. We're happy to welcome back to the program the man who covers the Dallas Stars for the Dallas Morning News. At Mike Heika is how you follow him on Twitter. And Mike joins us now. Mike, everything went about as well as it could for Dallas in their last game. Are they just enjoying the 5-0 victory over the Islanders? Or has Ken Hitchcock, as he's sometimes wont to do, pointed out some things they need to work on?
No, they're pretty happy about that one. It's interesting. They've been up and down and switching around and juggling lines and just looking for the right solution. The irony of this is I'm not exactly sure this is the right solution, but it was the right solution for that game. So that's what they're going to go with, and we'll see. They're heading out on a 3-game East Coast road trip. So we'll see if they make changes or if they like what they've seen so far.
One of the things I noticed Ken Hitchcock was talking about prior to the game Friday and going back, I guess about a week or so, is how tired he thought the team was. It's just, we're kind of grinding it out. We need a few days off. And watching the game where they rolled it up pretty good against the New York Islanders, they did look like a team that was refreshed and ready to go. They were clearly the better team of the two, but it just looked like a couple of days off really made the difference for Dallas.
Yeah, they had a 3-day break there, a couple of practices. And before that, basically, well, they had the one home game, but they had gone on a 5-game Western Canada road trip that also included stops in Kelowna and Whistler.
Right.
So 7 cities in 11 days, and they were tired. So that, getting that break, I do think what he's asking them to do requires a lot of energy. Lindy Ruff, last year, their system was the defensemen help the forwards, the defensemen attack and help create offense by outnumbering the opposition at the net. And what Ken's system is, the forwards have to help the defensemen. And so the defensemen come back, but it's a forward's job to also kind of be the third defenseman back and kind of lean in that direction. And pretty taxing on the forward group, and they're still trying to find their chemistry with their lines. They've pretty much juggled every game. Last game, they moved Jamie Benn to center, split up Sagan, Ben and Radulov, and that actually helped because they got more balanced scoring, which is what they were looking for. But yes, point being is getting some energy is very important to how they run their system.
It's an interesting thought to have Jamie Benn at center. I mean, I know he's played it before a little bit in the past, but Not very much, and not for a while. And you sound, when we started this conversation, you were a bit skeptical, but and I guess I am too. I don't know if this is a long-term solution.
Yeah, I agree with you. What's interesting about all this is when Jamie came in, basically after his rookie season, Joe Newendike said, "Hey, we need this guy to be a center," and they needed centers at the time. And Jamie came in and had never played center in his life. Joe helped him some. The coaches helped him out. And he actually did become a pretty good center. I guess my biggest criticism is, on a good day, I think he's maybe the 25th or 30th best center in the league. And, on a regular day, he's the first or second best left wing. And I think that's what Jim Nill found out when he came in 2013 and basically named Jamie captain, moved him back to left wing. Jamie became a first-team All-Star, became the leading scorer in the league at left wing. And so that's the thought process, is that is what he does best, and that's the best use for him. The other issue I have is they have too many centers. I mean, Jason Spezza is playing on the right wing right now because he can't play the game the way that Ken wants it played as far as defensively as a center iceman. And so what they tried earlier was they'd have Matthias Janmark play. Jason would play center in the offensive zone, but in the past, let's say 5 games, they've moved Jason to the right wing with Martin Hansel, and so they're juggling all this center business. And my point is, I guess, that they have other people who can play center, whether that's Janmark or Hansel or Fox or Devin Shore even, so that I don't think Jamie needs to. And this may have been a good thing just to shake things up and to get people thinking in different ways. But I think eventually Jamie will go back to left wing.
It only seems to make sense that he's the best use to the Dallas Stars as a winger, where he's going up and down and scoring goals. And since you mentioned Jason Spezza, I wanted to ask about it. There was a story that was bounced around a little bit on Hockey Night in Canada last night, saying that it was perhaps being considered or explored that the Dallas Stars would consider moving Jason Spezza. Now, understanding that he has no move protection as part of his contract, this, I suspect, does have to do with his playing on the wing rather than center. He seems like he's a real popular guy with his team, though, because they were all very pleased when he scored his first goal of the season on Friday night. And I just don't know if that's something that Dallas really wants to explore, or a road they want to travel down.
It's an interesting thought, and I've thought about it myself, because you just don't know how all this stuff plays out. On paper, as soon as they signed Martin Hansel, you said, well, where's Jason Spezza going to play? And so, that when they made that commitment to Hansel for 3 years, that already started the discussion of, is Jason Spezza the best fit on this team? Now, in talking to him and observing his body language and talking to other people, he is determined to try and make this work. I think he loves Dallas. I think his family loves Dallas. He does have no movement protection, and he will do whatever it takes, I think, to make this work. That being said, if there is a team, a good team, and he could be either the first or second center playing, 16, 17, 18 minutes a game, I think he has to at least consider that if it's put before him. I don't know that Jim Nill is asking about it. I don't know if Jason Spezza is asking about it, but it's just us fans speculating, saying, you know what, this does. Dallas needs a center, or Montreal needs a center, and he's open to that. Clearly that would be something, I think, if I were, just playing fantasy GM, there's a $7.5 million contract that could open up space. This gives, a guy like Radek Fox more minutes. And so, yeah, it does make sense. It's certainly something, you could study. But if Jason Spezza doesn't want to move and is determined to try and make this work, then it's all moot, I guess.
Yeah, at least for the time being. Mike Heika is with us from the Dallas Morning News, covers the Stars. At Mike Heika is how you follow him on Twitter. Now, the other thing that everyone sort of focused on when Ken Hitchcock came back to Dallas and was reintroduced as the head coach yet again of the Dallas Stars, defense was going to be important. Now, John Klingberg is leading the team in scoring at the moment, but he seems to be one defenseman that has really thrived under the change in how they conduct their business in Dallas these days.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it goes back to the fact, and Rick Wilson is the same. Rick Wilson is, I have a ton of respect for him. He was here quite a bit longer than Ken was, because he was here basically through the day. Well, but basically, those two coach a system that helps support a defenseman. And so, in addition to whatever John's doing, on his own to be better, Mark Mathot or Essa Lindell are playing beside him and offering defensive support, and the forwards are getting back and offering defensive support. And I just reading the game better. It's his fourth year in the NHL, and he should be stepping up about this time. He's an incredibly talented guy. He's incredibly smart. He's got great vision. He's got great hands. So he should be doing the things he's doing right now. I wrote today, even before the season, his 3 NHL seasons, he was 8th, I think, among all NHL defensemen in scoring during that. 15th in SAT, which, is basically Corsi. I use the NHL numbers because I just think you should use NHL stats. But his SAT was plus 400 or something like that, was 15th among all defensemen in his 3 years, even before this season. So he's a good already, and I think he's only getting better.
Mike, how has Alexander Laidlaw fit in with the Dallas Stars? They offered him the big deal for many years. He chose Dallas over Montreal. It seems like he's acclimated himself into the Dallas lineup the same way he did in Montreal last year. His teammates really seem to like him. He's been able to produce some offense. How's his settling in process gone?
He is funny. He's a dynamic personality. He's charismatic, and his teammates love him. Now, if you're a fan or a coach, sorry about that. If you're a fan or a coach, he can drive you crazy. Ken used the term wild card the other day. And what it is, and we were, this came when they were playing against Thomas Cooper, and it was the same thing. On one end of the ice, he makes something spectacular happen. On the other end of the ice, he makes something spectacular happen. And by that, I mean he gives the puck away at the blue line. He makes a mistake in his own end. He's not where he's supposed to be defensively. And then on the other end of the ice, he does something so unpredictable, the other team has no idea what he's doing, and it ends up being really good. So we call him a high event player, and that is exactly what he is. Back in the day, Brett Hull, kind of changed his way a little bit under Ken and took a few less risks. But that took a year or two before it really started to kick in. And maybe that's what will happen with Radulov. But he is a high energy, very unpredictable, very likable. But boy, when he's on the ice, something happens good or bad, and you just have to kind of react to it.
High event player. That's a very descriptive phrase. I think that one probably we'll probably use it. He's a very intense player too. Like he's when he's out on the ice, there is an intensity in his eyes that you don't see with everyone else. Yeah, and he celebrates like he set up Jamel Smith for a goal the other day, and Jamel was excited and in the corner, and I mean Radulov sprinted across the ice and jumped on him, and I mean, he enjoys the game of hockey, and that is contagious. This team, Craig Ludwig, the analyst for the Stars, always said this team was a very quiet team under Lindy, in that, their morning skates were quiet, their practices were quiet. Even, during games, I think a lot of the times they were a quiet team. So having a guy like Radulov jump in here and just inject joy to be on the ice, it really is important for an organization. Yeah, it is. And hey, one more quick one before we go. The acquisition of Ben Bishop, first via trade and then the signing of, boy, has that stabilized and solidified the Dallas Stars goaltending situation. It's made Kari Lehtinen better too, because he doesn't feel the same kind of pressure that he has over the past couple of years. I think it's worked well for both of them. Yeah, I agree with you. And he's a talented goalie. It's just when he's been put in pressure situations, it has affected him. So this actually has been great for him. Ben's had up and down. Like even before this last game, he had some rough patches there. But what he is a 6'7" goalie who lets the puck hit him. And in Ken's system and Rick's,
you don't get the transition goals like you did, in the past. So when you have in my opinion, when you have a 6'7" goalie who lets the puck hit him and he's defending the cycle most of the time, that's a really good fit to have that guy, because he is pretty athletic. But again, I think his style is such that he basically eliminates the goals that shouldn't be scored. And if your team is, defending the cycle mostly, it's a good fit.
Yeah, he seems to have settled in there well. Mike Heika, the Dallas Morning News, at Mike Heika, to follow him on Twitter. Always enjoy the conversation, Mike. Thanks so much for the time, and look forward to doing it again soon.
All right, thanks, Todd.
Thank you. Mike Heika from the Dallas Morning News. The Dallas Stars take on the Carolina Hurricanes in their next contest. Yeah, that was a big victory. The 5-0 victory over the New York Islanders on Friday night. I like listening to the Dallas Stars as you watch them as well with Darryl Ray, who's shifted over to take over the play-by-play duties. He had a great line talking about a goal. I forget which one it was. It was one of the first goals of the Dallas Stars on Friday night, when the player went across the crease, waited for Yaroslav Halak to go down, and then just popped it into the back of the net. And Darryl Ray said, "Oh, the patience of a preschool teacher." It was very funny. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of Dauber Hockey, with this week's Fantasy 5. Some help, some suggestions for you and your fantasy hockey pool. Goaltending's been letting me down a little bit this week. And in fact, it was one of the goaltenders that Steve was pretty high on at the start of the season. So I may have to ask him about that as well. Lots to get to in our next segment as we look at stories from around the National Hockey League play that's occurred on Saturday night, and looking ahead to the week coming up. It's Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremonies coming up on Monday. There is also a book out that came out a few weeks ago by Ken Dryden that is really interesting. You've probably heard a little bit about it. We'll talk a little bit about it in our next segment as well. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. We're here every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, live on the Hockey Unfiltered app, powered by Primetime Radio. You can download the app at the App Store. Also live on Facebook, live on Periscope, and on YouTube Live. Before the top of the hour, Stephen Laidlaw with us with this week's Fantasy 5. Bit of help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Oh, we have covered a lot of ground today. Lots of good stories, lots of things happening in the National Hockey League. Mentioned just before the break, I wanted to talk a little bit about Ken Dryden's book, the one that came out just a couple of weeks ago. It's called Game Change. Details the life of Steve Montador as he made his way through to the National Hockey League and all of the struggles he dealt with during and after his NHL career. I have not read the entire book, but I have read a number of excerpts from it. I have read a few interviews and seen a few interviews that Ken Dryden has done. I really like Ken Dryden. I have read previous books. The Game, his earlier on in his career, was really interesting. But the topic that he brings up in Game Change, it's interesting, and it needs more discussion, and it needs more focus. The argument for change is also made in a very poignant manner in the book by Ken Dryden. The answer to limiting head injuries is not more awareness, is one of the points that Ken Dryden makes. It's not about awareness. Everyone knows that blows to the head are a problem, are an issue. That's a negative that you're going to have. So Ken Dryden suggests, as part of his book, that the only answer, the way to real change, is to make illegal all hits to the head. No exceptions. It's a very drastic, it's a very bold suggestion. He's not the first to make it, but the way he lays out the argument, I find really interesting and intriguing. And I mentioned that I've seen and watched and heard a number of interviews with Ken Dryden. And there's a quote in a recent one that Ken Dryden has with Jeremy Schaap from ESPN. And here's the quote that kind of got me in terms of his suggestion, all head hits being illegal in the NHL. A quote from Ken Dryden: look at a hockey game, and for your listeners and readers, the next game, watch and see how many head hits there are. And there aren't that many. So that's the first part of it. Then ask yourself, well, if those that do happen were eliminated, would the game still be the game? And the answer, I think that readers and listeners will know, is yes, absolutely. It will still be the game. And this is a game that even in the last couple of years, even this year, it has changed a lot. It is getting more and more and more skillful. That is so interesting to see. In a sense, the skills have caught up to the speed of the game. At one time, the speed was so great that it outpaced the skills, and so you had to do simple things like dumping the puck ahead and chasing it, because otherwise it was too fast to pass it and pass it successfully. End quote from Ken Dryden. It's an interesting argument that he makes, and an interesting way of illustrating it, that the skills of the players has caught up to the speed of the game. So yes, of course, I know all the arguments that are going to get trotted out again. Players are different sizes. There are taller players, there are shorter players. But let's look at this as an idea and try to find ways to make it work, to make the game safer, instead of trying to find reasons that it won't work. Because that's usually the tack that everyone takes. Oh, you can't do that because. It slows down progress. Instead of finding reasons why it won't work, let's examine it from the perspective, okay, if there were no head hits, it would be better, it would be safer for everyone. So is it practical? Is there a way to find and make it work? I still have questions about it. I'm not sure how it will be implemented. I'm not sure how the plan will work, because it's great to say, okay, no head hits. But the realities of life means there are still going to be blows to the head. How do you implement it? How do you make it work? For instance, if a check is performed by one player on another, body check, totally clean hit. By today's definition, it is body on body contact, only body contact. One player checking another in a normal body check. But the player that receives the check then bumps his head on the boards, on the glass, because that happens as well. It's one thing to say, okay, there is no head checking, and head checking is illegal now in the game. But what happens if a player contacts the boards or the glass, or another player for that matter, in the process of being checked legally. I'm not sure how that works. Is that a penalty? I know it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. Does that become a penalty? Is this kind of hit allowed? Or how do we address that situation? So it's great to say that no hits to the head, and the head checking now is illegal. But there's other questions that need to be looked at and examined as part of this process. Is that kind of hit allowed? Or I think it has to be. You can make that kind of distinction. There was also an incident on Saturday night in the Vancouver Canucks and San Jose Sharks game that needs to be looked at. I've been keeping an eye on social media, and I haven't seen anything about it yet, but I suspect there's going to be a hearing coming. There should be a hearing coming. Late in the game, there was a battle along the boards. This game was over and decided. San Jose shut out the Vancouver Canucks, and the game was absolutely over. But Timo Meier, the San Jose Sharks, absolutely clobbers Michael Del Zotto of the Canucks. He fells him with one shot. He was given a 5-minute major for elbowing. Only problem is, it wasn't an elbow. It was kind of, I got my hand over the butt end of the stick, and I'm going to hit you right in the chops with it. Meier came away from a battle on the boards, looked Del Zotto right in the face, and then hammered him in the chin. That's he was given 5 and 10, and he was out of the game. There was only about a minute and a half left in the game. For this type of penalty, that's obviously not a head check. That is a blow to the head. If we're thinking and discussing in the Ken Dryden terms that all blows to the head are illegal, how do you deal with this? Should there be some, what's the penalty for that? I mean, it's one thing to throw a player out of the game, but I think you're going to open up more supplemental discipline as well. And for this, there should be. It's a stupid play. Game's over. Game's decided. I think there's 3 or 4-0 at that point. And there's no way that Vancouver's coming back. And that's just a cheap, dirty play. And I'm okay if Timo Meier gets suspended for a bunch of games for that because it's a dirty thing. The other part that will come into this discussion as well, and if blows to the head are illegal, head checking is illegal now in the NHL. But if, as Ken Dryden says in his book, no hits to the head, no more blows to the head, they're all illegal. They cannot be part of full body checks anymore. Contact to the head is illegal. You'll be penalized for it. If you go down this path, it will also inevitably lead to the discussion of punches to the head. For fighting, for scrums, is it a push? Is it a shove? Is it a shot? Can you really tolerate that if you are going to go to the point of all hits to the head are illegal if they're part of a body check? And that, of course, is going to engage a whole other line of debate. I still maintain that this is the way the league will go at some point. Fighting is illegal. That is the part that gets lost in so many of the arguments about fighting in the National Hockey League. Fighting is already illegal. It is tolerated, though. You are not ejected for it. You are penalized, but you are not ejected. If you go to the point of any head check is illegal and you are penalized for it, what are the penalties going to be? How severe do those penalties have to be? It can't just be a 2-minute penalty. If any check to the head, whether there's body contact or not, is illegal, if we change from the current rule where targeting the head is the problem, that you run into, that's when you run into being penalized by the officials on the ice. If you go to the standard of any head contact is illegal, that will inevitably lead you to a further discussion about, as it's called in the rule book, fisticuffs. Fighting is illegal. It's tolerated, it's penalized, but you are not ejected for it, unlike other sports. I mean, you can't allow players to stay in a game if punches are thrown, can you? So I think it is an interesting discussion. It is an interesting topic. And I think it's worthy of more examination. And I think it's worthy of talking about. I'm just not sure how it becomes implemented, because it's great to say that no head hits. And no one wants to see that. But what are the practical applications of it? How do you bring it into the game? You can't hit a player at all. Well, if I'm 6'5" and I am playing against a player that is 5'9", and there are more smaller players coming into the game now because they are able to move up and down the ice a little more freely, and the speed is increasing. If we simply bump into one another, there is a chance I am going to contact the head of that person. Does the emphasis, does the onus get moved to the larger player to avoid that kind of contact? Kind of the way checking from behind is now when a player is facing the boards. The player who is applying the force, who is delivering the check, bears more responsibility because he is the one in control. If this is a check between a large player and a smaller player, is there more emphasis of responsibility that needs to be looked at in terms of applying the rules? Because there will be contact between players. They will bump into one another. Or is it only in the matter of if you deliver a deliberate check to one player, you must bear the responsibility of whether or not there is head contact? There's a lot of layers to it. I'm all for having the discussion. This is no longer an awareness problem. Everyone's aware that blows to the head can cause serious issues. It's what do we do about it now, and how do we implement it? Here's something else to consider. I was searching around and researching and looking for information about this, and I stumbled on a product. It's for football. They use it for lacrosse helmets as well. It is called the Guardian Cap. It is a soft shell for the outside of football helmets. It fits over and is affixed onto a football helmet. Only weighs a couple of ounces. It reduces the impact by up to 33%. Now, is this something that we could and should be looking at for hockey as well? I have said this before, others have as well. Softer pads, softer caps for pads under equipment. Use them for helmets as well. No hard shell on the outside. If we can do it for football helmets, can we do it for hockey helmets? This is not the answer. This is just something that might help to add to the level of safety. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles if you want to weigh in. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email address if you need more than now 280 characters on Twitter. One more segment left to go up to the top of the hour. Stephen Laidlaw will join us, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5. It has been a busy couple of hours. We'll take you right up to the top of the hour. Back with more after the break.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing. Nova Product Design. Industrial design. Mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. you missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis Sunday edition here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com and on the Hockey Unfiltered app, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. The Twitter handle for our next guest is at Steve Laidlaw. He is the managing editor of DobberHockey.com and joins us every week at this time with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Steve, how are you? Having a good fantasy week?
Yeah, it's not been too bad.
Okay, so I'm going to sneak in a little question here before I ask you about the fantasy too. I know you were big on Scott Darling before the start of the season, suffered a tough loss to the Hawks last night facing his old team. Are you as big on Scott Darling now as you were at the start of the season, or is your enthusiasm tempered a little?
Well, I mean, one of the excited for him was because you could get him very late in drafts. So I certainly think that he's still capable of being a very good number goalie for you. So in that sense, I haven't wavered from him at all. You know, I've got him on my team in multiple leagues, and I'm not even remotely considering dropping him. I think he'll still be a very effective option when the full season shakes out.
Okay, good. Just checking. Just want to make sure, because I did grab him too as my second goaltender. So I want to get your opinion. Okay, let's get to this week's Fantasy 5. Steve Laidlaw has 5 names for you, a little help for you in your fantasy hockey league. And name number 1, Matthew Barzal of the New York Islanders. He's a pretty good-looking player.
Absolutely. You know, we saw what he could do in his 5-assist outing there about a week ago. Certainly a very dynamic offensive talent. He's got speed, he can dangle, and he's in a really good spot on the Islanders' top power play unit, which has been more effective than it has been in the past this season. So I think as long as he hangs on to that top power play role, he's going to score 50-plus points and be an effective option for people in their fantasy leagues.
And name number 2 this week from Steve Laidlaw is Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets, called up and seems to be fitting in quite nicely with the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets Paul Maurice is a really big fan of loading up his top 6 with all of his talent, and that's really working out for Kyle Connor. He's up on the top line with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler, and he's a talented kid himself, so he's fitting. And he's also getting time on their top power play unit. And traditionally, they haven't had a great power play, but certainly he's piling up points in that situation. And again, talent and opportunity equals production, and certainly Connor, as long as he's sticking around in the Jets' top 6, going to be a productive fantasy option.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition. This is the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5 with Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, the only place to find the Fantasy 5. Name number 3 on the list is Michael Furland of the Calgary Flames. He and others, maybe they're starting to score for the Calgary Flames, it looks like.
Indeed, he's on a nice little hot streak. He's got goals in 3 straight, and in 4 of the last 5 games. He's getting lots of time up on the top line with Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan. And again, talent plus opportunity equals production. I would file him away in kind of more of the Patrick Maroon category, just in terms of what you can expect for in terms of production. So definitely a guy you should be interested in if you're in a multi-category league, if you've got hits, penalty minutes, that sort of thing. But certainly, his shot volume is up this year. He's getting, more minutes than he has in the past, more consistent power play time, and right now he's on a hot streak. So he'd definitely be a guy you would want to consider picking up right now.
On the Fantasy 5 this week, center for the Washington Capitals, Lars Eller was talking about the Caps yesterday, and he's had a very nice year. Sometimes a contract year will do that for a guy, but it doesn't matter. You just take him and enjoy the production, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the motivating factors behind what's got Eller on this hot streak. Certainly not a guy I would consider for the long haul of the season. He's putting up points right now, but I don't expect it to last for 40, 50 games, that sort of thing. But certainly 8 points in his last 7 games. A short slate of games on this Sunday. If you need a few points to try to turn this matchup around for you, he'd be a good one to grab off the waiver wire. And then maybe for the coming week, he could slot into your lineup and get you a couple extra points while he's still riding this hot streak. And then when he cools off, we'll find you a better option.
There you go. And one final name on this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5 from Steve Laidlaw of DobberHockey.com. Jesse Puljujarvi just called up by the Edmonton Oilers and had a goal yesterday in the game against the Rangers in a losing effort, but maybe he sticks this time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he does. He certainly he adds a different dynamic to that team. They really need speed, and he can provide it. He's also, he's got that big shot. He flashed it on Saturday in the afternoon game, piling up 5 shots on goal. We love those guys who can shoot the crap out of the puck, and certainly he can. Right now I'm as more of a curiosity, with how many players are producing right now, I can't imagine that in your average league that you're going to want to drop, those guys who have been producing for you the past couple of weeks in order to get Puljujarvi into your lineup. But certainly, if he were to start getting power play time he would suddenly be a guy on everyone's radar. So, keep an eye on his minutes, his usage, and his shot volume. And, if he starts producing or he starts getting top power play minutes, then he's one to go after for sure.
And we love it when Steve gives us guys that shoot the crap out of the puck. Steve Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, at Steve Laidlaw to follow him on Twitter. And here with us every week, every Sunday, the only place to get the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Steve, good info as always. Thank you. Have a great week. We'll do it again on Sunday.
Yeah, sounds great, Todd. Solidarity behind Darling. Solidarity.
I'm with you. I'm staying on. I'm staying on. I'm staying on the bandwagon. Thanks, Steve. Stephen Laidlaw from DobberHockey.com here again quickly at the Fantasy 5. Matthew Barzal of the New York Islanders, Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets, Michael Furland of the Calgary Flames, Lars Eller of the Caps, and Jesse Puljujarvi now of the Edmonton Oilers. Called up yesterday. Got into the game, got a goal. Will they do it again today? It's the Edmonton Oilers and the Washington Capitals, one of 4 games on the Sunday schedule. Hey, if you manage to grab Eller and Puljujarvi, maybe you can pick up some extra points there in the head-to-head matchup. The other games on the Sunday schedule, New Jersey Devils in Chicago to take on the Hawks. Tampa is in Anaheim, and the San Jose Sharks blew out the Vancouver Canucks last night at home. They are in Los Angeles to take on the Kings in a 7:30 local, 10:30 Eastern time start. Again, still no word on Timo Meier and whether or not he'll be allowed to take the ice or not. That was a real cheap and dirty shot that he had last night on Michael Del Zotto of the Vancouver Canucks. We'll wait and see. A few other good games, but only 2 on Monday in this coming week. Dallas is at Carolina. St. Louis is at Calgary because it is Hockey Hall of Fame weekend. The induction of the newest members of the Hockey Hall, the inducing ceremony, as I like to call it, will take place on Monday in Toronto. Looking forward to a great week of hockey, and we'll be back with you again next week. Don't forget, it is our list of Todd's favorite things happening next week. We'll be sending out little sneak peeks through the week on social media, so be following us on Instagram, on Twitter. Check out our Facebook page and our website as well. The full list will come out next week. Thanks to Steve Laidlaw, thanks to Mike Heika, thanks to Kristen Odland, and to Sam Werner for joining us on the program today. Have a great week of hockey. Back with you next Saturday and Sunday at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff, the Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.